that God who is alone able to protect them?
Okay. John Fox.
John Fox? Who do you think said it? You think
Fox.
John Fox said it?
Yeah. Coach of the Broncos.
The coach of the Broncos. That was George Washington. That was George Washington who said that.
Did he play for the Rams?
No, but I want to tell you something. The hatred of somebody actually, the President of the United States, saying that kind of thing. If Washington were alive today,
he'd vote for Tim Tebow.
The anti-Christian bigots, he would become the poster child for all their hate. He would be surpass Tebow and Bachman and Palin. They would hate George Washington. Folks, you need to understand what's going on here in America. You have these anti-Christians that hate any mention of religion, and it doesn't matter if it was the same people who they consider, the greatest people in history. It doesn't matter, because their hatred is so strong. Okay, big shout out, Adam Ben Noach is now in the, how's it going, buddy? Good to see you in the thing. All right, let's get to the Parsha and have a few words of Torah before we go. Huh? What do you think?
Baruch Hashem. And I sense that there's someone out there with back pain, so let me just send good vibrations to you to heal the
We're
back
having
pain.
those good vibrations.
So, I went to a party Thursday night.
No, we don't want to know about your party. We want to learn about this week's Parsha.
Yeah, it's just really brief. It's about the Parsha. And I started talking to this guy, Eli. I lived next to him for a year and never spoke to him because he went to the Kabbalah Center. That's not why I did speak. But we never spoke. In a year, I lived next to the guy. Then I run into him at a party Thursday night at Yael Meyer's album release party, and we had this fantastic chat. Isn't that like L.A.? You live next to a guy for a year, you never speak, then you meet at a party and you start schmoozing. And do we have an exciting football game tonight? It's Seattle 10-0 over the St. Louis Rams.
10-3. Here's the deal. I need to be under 40. so I need to score low tonight. It's got to be 39 or lower. Okay.
So I interviewed an Alexander Technique teacher, Sandra Bain Cushman, tonight, and she tells me, once had a student who was progressing really well, but she was a pronounced atheist. Had this weird feeling that if she was going to continue to take lessons, she was going to have trouble keeping that ironclad atheism. So one night, I was lying awake and worrying about it. I think it's going to come soon where she will feel more than she's feeling right now, and I don't know what to do. I got up next day and I had a message on my machine. She canceled her lesson. She never came back. That was my weird confirmation that this work, Alexander Technique work, is spiritual work. So, this week's Parsha. Joseph is like the prototypical Jew. He's like telling people, things they don't want to hear.
Oh, I think that we both can relate to that. Can we?
Yeah.
I am the teller of things that people don't want to hear.
Right.
The typical Jew does not want to hear that Zionism is what's the word I want?
Wrong.
Zionism is
Heresy.
Goes against. How do you say goes against? I can't even think of the word I use. Is mutually. It contradicts. They are fundamentally opposed. They were never meant to be cohesive with Judaism. Zionism and Judaism don't go together. You post something like that, boy, people go crazy. They can't handle it because it hits them right in the neshama. Because the Jewish soul knows the truth, right? And they will fight it at any cost.
Right.
You know what I mean? They get all worked up. They get emotional.
Right.
And these are the things people don't want to hear. So I have no problem. I keep spewing it out. The average liberal Jew, thinks it's the right thing to do to trash the Christians and align themselves with anybody who hates the Christian right. Right? And I come and I tell you, who's the best friend of the Jews right now in the world?
Yeah.
It's the evangelical right-wing devout Christians. Yeah. If they're the best friend of the state of Israel, they're the best friends of the Jews in America. What do you want to do? You want to hang out with your liberal Jew friends, who are, we are all Palestine. Okay, so I say these things. People don't want to hear these things, but you know what? It penetrates the neshama. They hear it from me. Their neshama knows. They'll live with it the rest of their life.
So when Joseph's brothers went to feed their flock at Shechem, where Dinah was raped, in both apertures. Oh, that reminds me of that saying thing you read by George Washington. like a divine imposition in their affairs. I remember asking a girl, hey, baby, you want a divine interposition in your affair?
Can you try to learn a little Torah before you have to go?
Okay.
Okay.
So at Shechem, where poor old Dinah was raped,
Yeah.
Jacob sent Joseph to see whether all was well with them. So freedom and community are antipodes. If you don't want people like checking up on you to make sure you're okay, then you don't want people looking out for you. So if you just want to like, oh, I just want to do my own thing. I want to talk about sex on Torah Talk. I just want to like touch women. I just want to like have a good old time. I want to walk around the neighborhood in jeans on Shabbat and just have good times. Then you can't belong to community. It's just going to like constantly violate community standards. So if you want like to be part of a community, have people looking out for you and checking up on you, then you're going to have to give up some freedom. Thank you.
Okay.
So Joseph went looking for his brothers, but when he found them, they wanted to kill him. So this has happened to me many times. I've had like little idea of the animosity that people had for me, and like I'd go looking for them, and I'd show up, and then they'd put me in pits, and they'd sell me to white slave traders.
Okay.
So Joseph was handsome, and I'm handsome.
Who says you?
Yeah, Joseph and I have a lot in common.
Okay.
So Potiphar's wife repeatedly asked him to lie with her, but he declined, asking how could he sin against Potiphar and God. So you don't know how many times this has happened to me. Like only I wasn't as strong as Joseph. So my good looks are a curse, and my ability with words hypnotizes women. This is a burden to me, and I wish it wasn't true.
Okay, can I just comment? I can't sit. I'm seriously about to throw up. You're making me nauseous with your self-flattery.
Are you about to throw up?
Yeah. With your egomaniac. I can't. I gotta respond. You're forcing me to respond. Okay?
Yeah.
You're forcing me to respond. Dude, you said you're good with words?
Yeah.
And that these women are,
Just hypnotized.
Let's understand something, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, let's understand something. You were in the porno industry. These were porn women, right?
Yeah.
These are women who get paid. They're hookers. They get paid to have sex. These are professional sex people.
Yeah.
They weren't interested in you. They're just doing their job, okay?
No, they love me. This
Oh,
one
yeah,
guy said,
right. Stop.
I love you.
Stop. I can't listen to this anymore. It's not because you're good looking or you're good with words, right? It's because they're porn stars, you and your 44 women. I'm serious. Stop flattering yourself.
It's a burden.
Instead of telling us about the 44 women who are a bunch of skanks, who you're just another John to, another trick to, right? Why don't you tell us about the relationships that you've had that lasted more than a year?
Well, there are a couple of those that lasted maybe a few months more than that.
How many altogether have you
I'd
had?
say 2 that lasted.
Why don't we focus on those? Because those are real women. When you're banging some skank, that doesn't mean you're popular. And this shit went into your head, and you've told yourself ever since, like, oh, look at me, I'm so good looking, I'm so good with the words. Dude, you were banging skanks. Now,
See, I think they had the divine image in them.
focus on the ones that you've had who wanted you because you're Levi Ford, the neshama inside, not because you're just some piece of meat. How many altogether? 2? And start focusing on them, and that is your life. Okay, you go back to that. I've got to watch this.
So me and Yosef were both really handsome, and like women find us irresistible.
I can't. Yeah.
And it's a burden.
Because Yosef hanged out with a bunch of skanks, right?
Potiphar's wife was not a skank; she was a fine-looking woman.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One day, when the men of the house were away, Potiphar's wife caught Yosef by his garment and asked him to lie with her, but he fled, leaving his garment behind. This has happened to me too many times to remember, and people poke fun at me for like running down Pico Boulevard naked. But it was only that the woman of the house had like stripped me of my garment, and I had to run away to preserve my purity. That's why I'm running down Pico Boulevard stark raving naked. It's like because I love God and Potiphar too much.
Uh-huh.
So there are going to be fat years and there are going to be lean years. So during the fat years, you need to save for the lean years. Also,
boy. Let me tell
some
you about
years
that.
are going to be more successful than others. But even when you're on top of things, you need to preserve your relationships with your family, with friends, and with community so that when things turn tough, you can go to them for help. So one of the worst things that welfare does is that it makes people feel like they don't need to preserve their ties to other people.
I want to respond.